Since I lost my wife in an accident, I've been raising my daughter on my own. My name is John. My wife, Susan, and I said our final goodbyes when our daughter Emily was still in middle school. Both Emily and I struggled to move on from the loss of Susan, but we knew we had to keep going, just the two of us. I worked tirelessly to ensure Emily could go to college, and I did as much as I could around the house. Emily, bless her heart, actively helped with housework and cooking. She grew up to be a great cook, just like her mother, and that made me so proud. Now, Emily has started college this year. Emily wanted to go to art school, so I thought she would move to a big city, and I felt a bit down about being alone. But then she said, "Dad, you can't handle the house without me, so I'll stay a bit longer." I wasn't sure if she was kidding or not, but she chose a college close to home. "I can handle the housework," I told her, but I couldn't hide my happiness. Then, one day, I came home from work feeling really tired. Emily had cooked dinner after her club activities, but I couldn't finish it. "Are you okay? Feeling sick?" she asked worriedly. I just brushed it off with a smile. "It's probably just fatigue. I'll be fine after some rest." But the physical sluggishness continued for days afterwards. I checked my temperature, a normal 98.6 degrees. It was strange, but not bad enough to miss work. I didn't think much of it and carried on as usual. But I found it hard to eat much at dinner. Emily kept urging me to go to the doctor, but I, disliking hospitals, relied on energy drinks and went to work. However, my condition didn't improve, and one day, Emily said to me, "We're going to the doctor tomorrow." The doctor? I told you I'm fine." I laughed it off, but her serious look didn't change. "I've already taken time off work, so no backtalk, just do as I say." Her commanding presence was so strong, I couldn't help but reply, "Yes, ma'am." I had to chuckle at this bit of pressure from Emily. She's starting to resemble her late mother, Susan, in that way. Emily has always been sensitive about my health. It's no surprise, really. After Susan suddenly passed away, I was the only parent left. When Susan went to heaven, I remember holding a distraught Emily in my arms as she sobbed, "Dad, you just can't die, okay?" So, I guess she's really scared of losing me too. Hearing this makes me happy to be so cared for by my daughter, but it also reminds me that I need to take better care of my health. Emily drove us all the way to the hospital, but I was nervous about driving as she had just got her license. "Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive? I can take over," I offered. Just don't talk to me right now. I'm concentrating, and you driving in your condition is even scarier. Leave it to me," she insisted. Watching her hunched over and gripping the steering wheel, I thought she had some nerve to say that. I was tense the whole ride, but when it was all said and done, Emily didn't make a single mistake and got us to the hospital safely. "See, I told you I'm good at this. Though my instructor did say I drive too slow," she said afterwards. Maybe it's because of her mother's accident, but Emily is very cautious when driving. With this level of caution, she's unlikely to hurt anyone. But just as I was thinking that today alone was going to shorten my lifespan, Emily shook me hard and said, "There's Mom." "Mom, what are you talking about? It's true. Look." Annoyed by my daughter's words, I looked where she was pointing, only to feel my heart almost stop. Among the busy nurses, there was a woman who looked like my deceased wife, just a bit older. A ghost? It's not right. I guess not. It felt like watching a paranormal phenomenon. "Did Mom have a twin we never knew about?" Emily asked, because the resemblance was uncanny. Susan was an only child. There's no way she had a twin. While it's not impossible that she had a long-lost sibling, such coincidences only seem to happen in TV dramas. Yet, even with these thoughts, I found myself unable to take my eyes off her. I knew she looked similar, but I was captivated. Later, I was diagnosed with acute hepatitis. When my daughter, Emily, heard from Dr. Williams that I had acute hepatitis, she almost cried, but relaxed after he kindly assured her, "It's okay, a little rest should do the trick." Then she glared at me. I apologized with my eyes. "I understand. I'm sorry for not seeing a doctor sooner." After that, I was admitted to the hospital. "I'll bring you some clothes. Call me if you need anything." "Thanks, I appreciate it," I replied. It was then, as Emily was about to leave, that it happened. "Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah, the nurse in charge of John." "Pleasure to meet you," said the woman who greeted us, to which both Emily and I widened our eyes. That's because she looked just like my late wife. Nice to meet you. I'm Emily, his daughter. Please take good care of my father," Emily said, bowing her head, and Sarah smiled. "You have a wonderful daughter." Her laughter brought back memories of my late wife, and I could only respond with a puzzled smile. "If you need anything, just call," Sarah said kindly before leaving my room. After she left, Emily took out a photo that she's always cherished. It's a picture of the three of us when she was in middle school. Both Emily and I looked younger in it. The only one who hasn't aged is my late wife. Looking at it now, it feels like Sarah, the nurse, reflects what Susan would have looked like if she had lived with us, a strange but intriguing thought. They really do look alike, don't they? Emily and I smiled at each other, acknowledging the resemblance. Afterwards, Emily and I became very close with Sarah. She was a very friendly person, and whenever she saw Emily visiting, she'd pop into my room for a little break, and the three of us would often chat. Despite being in the hospital, I was happy. It felt like I was talking with my late wife. Eventually, my hepatitis calmed down, and my discharge was arranged. "I'm going to miss this," Sarah said with a sad look, so I boldly asked her out for dinner, and she happily agreed. Emily, standing beside me, patted my shoulder and said, "Way to go, Dad." I quickly added, "Of course, Emily will be there too," to Sarah. Emily looked at me with a "what are you nervous about?" kind of look. "Emily will join us." "Yay, I'm so happy," Sarah exclaimed with even more joy, leaving Emily no choice but to shrug and laugh. I didn't quite understand, but it seemed like Sarah really liked Emily, and I convinced myself that this was okay. Later, I chose a French restaurant with private rooms so we could relax without worrying about others, and we had a great time eating and chatting. It truly felt like spending time with my wife and daughter. Oh, how fun it was. As the drinks flowed and a pleasant buzz set in, I found myself gazing at Sarah. As we were wrapping up, Emily, with a smile, thanked Sarah, saying, "Thank you for today." "Yeah, I had a great time too." "Thanks, Emily," Sarah replied. Suddenly, Emily's eyes filled with tears. "What's this? I had fun, but now I'm crying." Unable to hold back her tears, Emily started to cry uncontrollably. "Emily, are you okay?" Confused, Sarah looked on as I rubbed Emily's back, explaining, "Hearing her own name from you might have reminded her of her mother." Then, I shared how Sarah resembled my late wife, that probably both Emily and I felt like we were spending time with family again, and I apologized for putting her in the situation. "So, that's it, Emily. You really loved your mom, huh?" Sarah gently stroked Emily's head. This scene, so reminiscent of my late wife comforting her daughter, brought tears to my eyes, but I held them back. Then, to my surprise, Sarah began to cry too, leaving Emily worried, asking, "Are you okay?" "I'm sorry, I've been holding back tears watching Emily," Sarah admitted. I was clueless and looked down at Emily, who also seemed perplexed. Then, Sarah began to talk about her past. She revealed that she had lost her husband and daughter in an accident around the same time Susan passed away. Since then, she had been living alone, working as a nurse. But when she saw Emily in the hospital, She was shocked by how much she resembled her late daughter. She told me, "It was like my grown-up daughter had come back to me. I was so happy. I felt like I was talking to my daughter in heaven, and it made me incredibly happy." Touched by Sarah's words, Emily couldn't hold back her tears anymore. It was a strange encounter where Sarah and I, both having lost someone dear, grew closer. One day, I had the chance to go out alone with Sarah. Originally, Emily, Sarah, and I were supposed to have dinner together, but Emily suddenly canceled, claiming to have caught a cold. However, she seemed fine, probably playing hooky, as she was happily gaming when I left the house. Although I thought it was unnecessary concern, I was somewhat pleased to be alone with Sarah. So, I booked a slightly upscale restaurant. Sarah and I had a lot in common and enjoyed our conversation. As we laughed and drank, I said, "I'm sorry." "What's come over you all of a sudden?" she asked. "I might have been chasing the ghost of my late wife. You look so much like her. I wanted to be close to her, even if just a little." Sarah chuckled at that. "Do you still see the ghost now?" Her gaze made my heart skip a beat. At first, I was indeed chasing after my wife. But it's different now. Gradually, I find myself drawn to Sarah herself. It's a feeling I haven't had in a long time. "No, I don't," I replied, and then I confessed, "I've fallen for you, Sarah." Sarah blushed and looked down, then said with uncertainty, "Is that okay, me? I wonder if Emily would be okay with me." I couldn't help but laugh. "I think it's fine. In fact, Emily even told me to go for it." Sarah looked surprised, so I laughed again. And that's how Sarah and I started dating. When I told Emily about it, she happily said, "Way to go," and patted my back. But I had one guilt nagging at me. "Hey, Emily, do you think Mom would be okay with me and Sarah dating?" I thought I had troubled her with a difficult question, but surprisingly, Emily answered right away. "What would you do if Mom was in your shoes and she found someone she liked?" "Well, I guess I would support her happiness." Emily smiled warmly. "Then, I'm sure Mom would also support your and Sarah's happiness." Her words were simple, but they somehow lifted the guilt I felt. I opened the jewelry box. Inside was a wedding ring. Suddenly, Emily appeared and asked, "Are you giving it today?" I replied, "Yeah." I had already told Emily in advance about my plan to propose to Sarah. Then, about 2 years after meeting Sarah, with the encouragement of my daughter, who had long realized my feelings, I proposed to Sarah and we married. Emily, having studied diligently at art school, is now working as a staff at an art museum. She would laugh and say, "You'll be fine without me, right?" and finally moved to New York to live on her own. However, she still comes back home occasionally, sharing her New York memories with Sarah and me. Sarah and Emily are so close they even go on trips together. Watching this heartwarming scene might be my greatest happiness now. I cherish this new life of 3, brought together by a chance encounter.